I realized there are unique, outrageous acts of love that can be committed by me and me alone, and that is the unique purpose, obligation, joy, and responsibility. It's my ability to respond to reality. That's my outrageous act of love.
A planetary awakening in love through a unique self-symphony.
What a privilege it is to be part of this global community.
There's a voice within me that asks, who am I, right? Who am I in all of this?
Each and every one of us has a unique gift to give that we desperately need.
Welcome to the heart of the revolution, everyone. It is with deep joy that we are together today in one mountain, many paths. Our mission is what Dr. Mark Goffney and Barbara Marx Hubbard call the planetary awakening in love through unique self-symphonies. We are activating a new humanity and awakening as a new species. Homo Amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapiens. As a temple, a church, a synagogue, a zendo, a mosque, no one is excluded, everyone is included, and we come together to attune to the evolutionary impulse awakening within us. Welcome home, everyone. I am Christina Tehel, the co-executive producer, along with Jamie Long, Jacqueline Clark, and Krista Josefa, and we are completely delighted to be together with each and every one of you today. This is our 305th live community broadcast. And what a great honor and tremendous pleasure it is to be part of humanity's flourishing. Use the Zoom and the Facebook chat functions to say hello, to let us know where you're from, to resonate the teachings, and to speak your prayers. On Zoom, check that your chat settings say everyone so that we can all hear from you. Care to step deeper into community through the work and practice of creating the great Homo Amor library? We are a thriving community and a work group, and you can reach out to me for the holy opportunities. My email is in the chat box now. Our weekly gathering, Writing to the Evolutionary Love Codes, will not be meeting for the month of August. Do join us as we restart up on September 5th. For those of you who are new to One Mountain, Many Paths, we normally receive a deep transmission of first principles and first values from Dr. Mark Goffney and also from recorded sermons from Barbara Marx Hubbard. For 4 more weeks, Dr. Goffney is stepping back, inviting our unique self-symphony to play our unique instruments, where we're focusing on practicing and embodying first principles, first values, the new story of a new humanity. We have an incredible lineup of people who have been involved, most of them for many years, in studying, living, and generating the planetary awakening in love that is at the core of the political and social revolution of love. We will and do miss Dr. Goffney, and we hold him close to our hearts blessing him in this time of sacred travel through Europe for our yearly Outrageous Love Festival. We look forward to his return on September 11th. Also in September, as part of launching the Unique Self Institute, we will resume our Saturday study group to dive into awakening your unique self with Claire Molinar, David Cicerci, and myself. You will be receiving email information coming soon from Jamie Long about the details. What to expect today? First, a Dharma recap from myself. Then Dr. Tom Ronan Goddard will set our intention. Then David Cicerci will resonate the evolutionary love code that we're working with. Then we step into our evolutionary sermon with Dr. Goddard, and then we move into meditation to enter prayer again with David. And then Krista will invite us deeper into community, and to close, we will bring people on for our short dance party and our goodbyes. Dr. Tom Ronan Goddard. He began his study with Dr. Mark Goffney a dozen years ago and has been involved in the Center for Integral Wisdom since its early days. Dr. Goddard is a psychologist, counselor, retreat leader, lawyer, and healthcare consultant, and is in the final stages of authoring with Dr. Goffney, Unique Self-Realization, Awakening to the Truth of Your Identity, a book on unique self-process based on a retreat that Dr. Goffney and Dr. Goddard and others at the Shalom Mountain Retreat Center created. I welcome all who are new. We need you. This is your first time. These two teachings do stand on their own, and every week does build on the previous week's teachings. We encourage you to go back and listen to previous One Mountain, Many Path episodes. Today, you may hear unique language. Trust the magic ways the language or Dharma comes through your understanding. One Mountain, Many Paths is radically committed to telling the new universe story. Now for my Dharma recap from last week's teaching. Evolving Namaste. Last week, Dr. Tom Ronan Goddard took us on a journey of the practice of Namaste, which means I bow to you, or the divine in me bows to the divine in you, reminding us that every crisis that we face is a crisis of intimacy. We all want so desperately and deservedly to see and to be seen, because seeing is an intimate act of love. Imagine if we see each other and everything around us with holy, sacred eyes. To recognize what we're seeing is not only divine, but is divinity having a unique experience, like old friends, dripping in love and appreciation. It's intimate to see each other and to be seen. We often lose the juice of the word intimacy when we think about intimacy as being limited to the domain of sexuality. Let's pull out a couple of examples of the crises related to intimacy, like racism, classism, transphobia, homophobia, or anything that turns our fellow human beings into something other than a unique expression of the divine. Isms give us an image in our head as to who people are. When we do that to each other, we create these crises of intimacy. No detail, no depth, no understanding. When this happens, we often hear, "You don't know me," or "You've erased me." We don't allow ourselves the glorious intimacy that is actually possible in interpersonal human encounters. Living in a world with these crises is heartbreaking, and it's simply because we don't see with our own uniqueness, and therefore we don't claim our divinity nor see each other's divinity. And what if we extended this seeing, this namaste, not only to our fellow humans, but to all of creation? What if every animal, plant, fungus, mineral, cloud we saw as unique expressions of the divine? Could humans with this perspective destroy vast swaths of rainforest and all the creatures and life forms, or wreak such havoc on the lungs of the planet, or see no connection between their personal lifestyle choices, how we consume, how we get around the world, and the well-being of other unique expressions of the sacred? Let's imagine in our mind's eye a path in which all of us can say namaste every day, all day, to all of creation, to each other, to our rainforests, to our air, to the amazing galaxies that the Webb telescope is revealing to us that we've never seen before with such clarity, and just bow because we love ourselves, because it's the truth of reality, and because it's for the benefit of the all. Now, I invite us to more deeply enter the sacred and the holy spaces of one mountain, many paths, and I turn my word to you, beloved Dr. Goddard.
Christina, thank you so very much for that beautiful Dharma recap. It was beautiful to hear it afresh from last week. So thank you for your gift this week and all weeks. This is, as Christina said, this is the time each Sunday when we together set our intentions for the next hour. Let me first invite all of us to set the intention to feel and not merely think in this time we have together. So often in our modern culture, we operate at the purely mental level, missing entirely the embodied emotional component of our lives. So my intention is to go slowly today, giving us all time and space to breathe with each other, to feel each other in the sacred we space that we are creating in this moment and this moment. In fact, periodically, I will remind myself and all of us to take a breath, one in which we can ensure we are in contact with our bodies and our emotions. This is not a pure cognitive exercise by any means. In fact, let's remember what respiration means. Let's go to the etymology of respiration. It means to spirit again, to re-spirit. In essence, if you go back to the origins of that word, respiration, we can see that we could hear it as to take in the breath of God into our beings again and again. In fact, our breathing, all breathing, is one of the intimate ways that the divine actually breathes. If last week we were seeing with God's eyes, this week we are breathing with God's lungs. So let's breathe together. The other day, a dear friend of mine, one that I met in LifeSpring many years ago, Terry's old stomping grounds, with whom I've been involved, in fact, Terry was his trainer, with whom I've been involved in the realm of personal and communal transformation for about 30 years, called me to discuss how we humans change our mindsets. We talked about the goal of, we talked about goal setting. Of course, that's a big thing for a while, but then the conversation turned to this question. When I am setting an intention, who is setting the intention? You see, we can set all the intentions we want, but if we are confused or delusional even about who we actually are, we're starting off at a great disadvantage. In fact, as Dr. Mark has said many times over the years, if we are delusional about who we are suffering from a form of insanity. To not know who we are is to be insane. Let's look at this through the eyes of golf. One of my favorite golfers to watch is a guy named Rory McIlroy. He can hit the ball a mile. A whole lot farther than I can even dream about hitting a ball, much less actually hit a ball. Everyone is clear, everyone in the game of golf is clear on the goal. In fact, to avoid any confusion whatsoever, we stick a flag at the goal. All right, we're going to that flag. But if I'm Ronayne and I think I'm Rory McIlroy, so if I'm Ronayne and I think I'm Rory McIlroy, and I'm standing in the middle of a beautiful fairway on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm 175 yards from the hole, and under the delusion that I'm Rory McIlroy, I reach for an 8-iron. For those non-golfers, that's an iron, a club that you use for short shots. 175 yards away, Rory reaches for an 8-iron. If I, deluded into thinking I'm Rory McIlroy, reach for an 8-iron and hit the ball, even if I hit it perfectly, I'll be 60 yards short, at least. And the if I hit it perfectly is a big if. This isn't a failure in my not knowing where I'm going at all. I know exactly where I'm going. It's a failure of identity. I don't know who I am. And this can go the other way, of course. If Dr. Mark had asked Rory McIlroy to spend a few hours putting together a presentation for this morning on evolutionary unique self, and Rory has not spent a minute in study with Dr. Mark, hasn't read his book on unique self, hasn't attended One Mountain, doesn't know anything about it, getting this period of time ready for today would be a struggle for him and might actually be impossible. So that would be, it's not about better or worse. Notice this, it's not about better or worse. It's about who am I? Who am I and what am I here for? Again, we can't blame Rory for that, except to the extent that he's lost touch with who he is. And these delusions are not purely mental. They're not just incorrect thinking. It's not just, as one motivational speaker put it, stinking thinking that we need to fix somehow. More often than not, they've been embedded in our emotions and locked in our bodies. Often since we were quite young. A lot of my delusions over the years I have traced back to when I was in the womb. This is why we need to engage our bodies, not merely our minds. Our minds are not enough for the task at hand. So let's breathe together. Re-spiriting ourselves, making sure that we're in touch right here with who we are. So let's briefly run through the various delusions and feel them in our bodies. As I say them, let's all tap into it as we prepare for the reading of the code by our beloved David. Delusion number 1. I'm a separate being, disconnected from all other beings. Now feel that. I'm a separate being, no connection to the outside world or any other human. I think we've all known this place. It's what it is to be lonely. I'm on an island. I'm a separate being. Now, to counter this delusion, I realize that I'm completely interconnected with all other humans and indeed all of reality, all of nature, all of those galaxies, all of reality. Let's breathe together. Breathe that in. There's another delusion even there. No separation, and this is the delusion, no separation means I'm absorbed into a single featureless, divine but featureless being. I lose myself in the divine. And there's nothing special here, nothing to see here, just me in the divine. Now, this can sometimes feel blissful. It's still delusional. It still is a mistake of identity, one that denies the uniqueness that each of us has and is. We counter this delusion when we realize that this fabric of being that we are not separate from is seamless, but not featureless. That in fact, I'm a unique expression of this one divinity. I am a unique expression of this one divinity. Let's breathe that in. And that leads us straight to you, David. Please bring us the code.
Tom, I'm so excited to be here with Dr. Tom Romaine and all of you. You know, I'm still feeling the spark of our Outrageous Love Festival that just ended last week, where Dr. Mark really laid out the fundamentals of first values and first principles. And so I'm excited to be here with you all. And so sometimes I think to myself, well, if I want to tell a friend about these teachings, where do I start? And this code, I would say, is probably the best place that I would love to start with people. It's such a fundamental first principle and first value of cosmoerotic humanism and the whole teaching of the new human and the humanity. So here's the code this week. You are not merely a unique self. You are an evolutionary unique self. You are a unique self who lives in an evolutionary context with an evolutionary relationship to life. You experience the evolutionary impulse awake and alive in you. You understand that evolution is not a process that merely happens out there. Evolution lives within you. The evolutionary unique self declares, I am evolution. And with that, I turn my word back to you, Dr. Tom.
Thank you, David. Let's breathe together as we hear this sentence that David so beautifully articulated. I am evolution. I am evolution. Now there's a bold statement of identity. Think about it. Feel it. I am evolution. As I hear David so beautifully resonate today's code, I'm reminded of a story about the great abstract expressionist painter Jackson Pollock. You probably know him from his unforgettable drip technique paintings. He was once criticized by a German painter, Hans Hofmann, who had suggested, not realizing who he was talking to or who he would become, he said, you really ought to try working from nature. And I've always loved Pollock's reply. I am nature. I am evolution. Feel it. I'm evolution. You see, when each of us fully inhabits our respective evolutionary unique selves, you, yours, I, mine, we identify as a unique expression of the fundamental creative impulse of the entire cosmos. that love impulse that brought this universe into existence. Wow. But what does that mean? Why is this important? What are the implications of this? Let's breathe together throughout this as we imagine those implications. Let's digress for a moment, though, to talk about the so-called Big Bang that allegedly birthed the impulse, birthed the universe. It seems to me in this moment that this is an unfortunate term that we use for birthing the impulse. It seems unfortunate because the very term bang makes it sound like the explosion of a single immense bomb after which other things happened that are not the bang. You know, bang, the race is off, and they're off with a bang, and then the race happens, but that's not the bang. So we can left with this notion that that creativity happened in that moment of the Big Bang, like the striking of a cue ball in the game of pool, and the rest is all just the other balls bouncing into each other on top of that pool table. In other words, this phrase, Big Bang's biggest weakness, is it kind of leaves us with the impression that we are separate from the Big Bang. That's something that happened a while back. That creative divine moment happened a long time ago. As I see it, the more nuanced view is to see the creation of the universe as an event that has been happening for at least 13.7 billion years and continues to happen in this moment and in this moment and right here in this moment. Some would say that the Big Bang keeps on banging. But again, we've got that problematic phrase. To me, I would toss out the phrase altogether and replace it with something like the great flaring forth. I've always liked that. Like the Big Bang, it's alliterative, flaring forth. But it sounds like it might be an ongoing process, one that continues to this day, even to this moment. This follows so naturally, it seems to me, from the notion that there is no separation. There is no separation. Not only are we not separate from each other and all of creation, we are not separate in time from all of creating. We are not separate in time from all of creating. Not only has this amazing creative process not stopped, it is not separate from us, from you, from me, from all of us. We are participants in the great flaring forth. Let's breathe together and feel that. We are participants in the great flaring forth. Well, that's pretty cool, you might say. And it certainly is, even if we stay in the purely material sense of that phrase. I mean, Joni Mitchell in her amazing song, probably one of my two favorite songs of all time, Woodstock, sings, "We are stardust, we are golden, we are million-year-old carbon." That's very cool. And cosmologists tell us that this material flaring forth is an evolutionary process at every level, from the cosmic to the biological. Even at the purely material level, then, the cosmos is endlessly evolving toward ever greater connectedness, ever greater wholes, and ever greater uniqueness. But let's not stay on that merely material level. We certainly don't live there as humans. There's no reason to stay there now. We are stardust. Yes, we are stardust, but we are so much more. We're also the inside of stardust. We're the inside, we're the interior of stardust. We are participants in the interior realms of all of creation. We are not merely the physical pieces that make us up. We are also on the inside of every one of those pieces. every atom, every subatomic particle. We're on the inside of the inside. Let's breathe together. What does it mean to be on the interior of the cosmos? Of what is this interior made? Well, we could listen to the words of the Song of Solomon. Gives us a clue as to what we are made of. Its insides are lined with love. The insides are lined with love. In other words, all that is, has ever been, and ever will be, throughout time and space, has an interior dimension that is love itself. Of course, we're not talking about the sort of ordinary love that ranges from I love tacos to I love my family to I love nature. Now, those are all wonderful flavors of love. But what we're talking about here is the love that lines the interior of all of creation. We participate in that kind of interiority, love itself. Let's breathe that in. Now, where does this take us? The great flaring forth is an ongoing process of creation of all of the exteriors that we can see and cannot see, but also all of the interiors of all that we can see and cannot see, which interiors are composed of nothing other than love. Love itself, that which is the interior of all of creation, is evolving and always has been. Love is evolutionary, just like the material exterior of love. So, if each of us is a unique participant in the great flaring forth, then each of us is a unique participant in the evolution of love itself. My evolving capacity for giving and receiving love is simply this: a participant in an infinite process that is the evolution of love. My capacity to love participates in the evolution of love itself. Feel that. Feel into your own capacity to love and how that's grown. And the knowing that it is also part of this broader evolutionary process that we're all involved in. So let's bring this home. What shall we call the intertwined combination of both the exterior of this great flaring forth, the galaxies, the nebulae, the humans, the bugs, the quarks, and the interior of this great flaring forth? Love. What do we call all of that together? Well, Lao Tzu warned us about this naming game. He said that the ultimate Tao that can be named is not the ultimate Tao. So we hear you, Lao Tzu. Whatever name we come up with will be flawed. We get it. And yet, just for purposes of today, let's hold it lightly. With this deep understanding and with deep humility that must accompany all naming exercises, let's pick a word anyway. Pick whatever name best describes to you that which includes both the outside and the inside of all that is, was, will be, or ever could be. Remember that the God you don't believe in doesn't exist, as Mark has said. The Taoists might call it the ultimate Tao. The Kashmir Shaivists, at least through some translators, might call it the goddess awareness. Depending on contexts, Jews might say Yahweh or Elohim or Hashem. Jesus probably said Allah, because that's the Syriac word for God. Muslims would say Allah. Ken Wilber once used cosmos, except spelled with a K at the beginning. The K, he said, was to reflect the interiority of what we think of as the cosmos. He takes that from the Greek word, the original Greek word. Those of us who were raised in languages with a bit of Germanic influence might say God. Pick whatever is most comfortable. I'll choose goddess for this next passage, but please substitute your preferred word for mine. That which is evolving, including me, you, everybody, and everything, is nothing less than the goddess, is nothing less than divine. Breathe that in. So when we are crystal clear about who each of us is and who all of us are, that is an evolutionary unique self, we realize what has always been true. Each of us is a participant in the evolution of the goddess herself. Each of us participates in the evolution of God, Allah, the Buddha. So if we put down all our delusions, just drop them by the road, and awaken to what is fundamentally true about our identity, we awaken to the breathtaking truth that each of us is participating in the holy process of evolving divinity. We find ourselves at the leading edge of that holy evolutionary process. We are, as Lady Gaga sings, at the edge of glory, moment to moment, always. This is not about the power of belief. We're not convincing ourselves of something with this. This is about waking up to what is true so that we can act in alignment with reality. If I'm standing in the middle of the 8th fairway and I've got 175 yards to the pin and I waken to the reality of my unique self, I reach into my golf bag and I pull out a fairway wood, not an 8-iron. An action that flows naturally from my realization about the truth of who I am. 175 yards is a fairway wood. Trust me, this is far more likely to be effective than if I deludedly pulled out an 8-iron. It is more effective because it is more aligned with what is true. Being deluded about who I am as a golfer simply leaves me 60 yards or more short of the green. Trust me, I've tried it. Similarly, if I awaken to the reality of who I am as a unique participant in the evolution of God, then those actions that flow from this awakening also will be more effective, regardless of which goals I seek to pursue. But this is not just about being effective. It's about suffering. Denial of reality leads to suffering. Mine, yours, everybody around us. Imagine the evolution of Goddess as a river, inexorably flowing toward greater wholeness, greater interconnectivity, greater uniqueness, greater complexity. And each of us is in that river. Those of us who learn to navigate the flow of that river, think about it, kind of playfully navigating the currents in that river, in harmony with its flow, can live a life of joy, possibility, delight, service. But those of us who refuse to acknowledge the flow of that river and who we are in it, and fight to swim at angles to that stream, or even to try to go upstream, are doomed to struggle endlessly against the reality of the river's flow and the reality of who we are. Swimming at cross current, which all of us have done from time to time, or as all of us also likely have done, against the current, trying to swim upstream, is the ego's move. Swimming with the evolutionary current blends our yearning with the reality that the goddess is evolving. And there is so much magnificence when we find that current and blend our energy with that current. So going back to this discussion I started with my longtime friend, yes, clear goal setting can be helpful to us. It's good to know where you're going. Learning skills that will enhance our ability to attain our objectives, also a great idea. Go to school, study under teachers, all of that. Life coaches can have a million strategies like this to help us live the life we want to live. But that's not what this is. More fundamental than all of that is awakening to our true identity, an evolutionary, unique self. With this awakening, we become conscious participants in the evolution of God, a fundamentally creative process surrounded by our fellow sacred participants in the evolution of God. We become unique divine creators, playing our part in the evolutionary unique self jazz combo with all of creation. If that sounds like heaven, it's because it is. We don't have to wait for the angels. Let's bring heaven down here. Let's bring heaven on down. And let us breathe together. Beloved David, please take us into meditation and prayer.
Tom, thank you so much. Can everyone see? I mean, this is Tom's way of helping us develop our spiritual intelligence, to actually upgrade our understanding of who I am and who is God, the G word, God. What is that? What does that mean? So we can actually participate in this larger story, as Dr. Mark invites us to play a larger game. And he actually is beautifully woven together these different pre-modern insights into a modern, postmodern, and post-postmodern weaving together of this evolutionary love story. So I'm so blessed by that. And I love, Tom, the way you invited us into breathing throughout each step of the process. It actually helped me to move along with you. So friends, are we ready actually to continue this process that Tom has beautifully created a context for, and actually meditate to experience what he's talking about within ourselves? As Dr. Mark says, anthro-ontologically, we can actually find that these truths, which are so beautifully woven together, are actually evident within ourselves. So if you're willing, I would love to actually take us all on a little meditation back through the process of evolution that actually lives within ourselves, because we actually know that the evolutionary impulse, which is alive in all it is and it moves through everything, actually is coded within our being, as Barbara Marx Hubbard used to often say. So the context is that evolution is everywhere, and that Eros is the force that binds everything together and moves everything towards more and more love, basically, higher levels of wholeness, integration, connectivity, care, right? And so what I'd love to do is actually trace back in our own bodies the exteriors and interiors, all the way back down to the source. So you can do this with your eyes closed. You can do this along with me. It may help to move your body just a little bit. But let's start at the most advanced parts of ourselves in terms of evolution, which is the prefrontal cortex, right? This is the place within our bodies that gives us access to self-reflective mind, that actually birthed Homo sapiens, that actually gives us the opportunity and the capacity to reflect, to ask questions, to organize the world, to make sense of reality, to create language, right? So this is the prefrontal cortex, the exterior, which is the interior of which is the self-reflective mind. So let's trace it back even further, the next step beneath the prefrontal cortex. Let's move back into the limbic system, which gives us access to emotions. That actually is the part of us that we share with all animals. To actually feel the ability to experience emotions, joy, love, anger, sadness, right? The actual experience of emotion within us. Keep tracing it back and find this reptilian brainstem, which is the source of impulse, the ability to actually move towards and away from things. So can you feel that within our bodies here? The impulse to move towards and away. And we keep tracing that back, even the next step, to the very cellular structure of our bodies. The aliveness, interior of which is the aliveness. So we can experience the aliveness of 75 trillion cells that at this very moment are actually taking in nutrients, are metabolizing them, reproducing itself. So just take in that. Can you feel that aliveness? Just the very aliveness of the body. And we share that with all the plants. And we go even further down to the atomic structure in our physicality. So the physicality of our being, the boundaries of our body, the strong and weak nuclear force that binds protons and neutrons and keeps atoms together. So our very physicality. Feel that. Let's feel into that. And that physicality is held down. You can feel it being held down by gravity, the gravitational force. And we keep going back, and we can experience all the four forces: electromagnetism, strong, weak, nuclear, gravity. And beneath that, what is that? Feel that allurement, the very allurement that binds all things together in the cosmos. And we can feel that just by breathing, as Tom has beautifully invited us into, taking a breath into being. Barbara and Mark has called this no thing. Before time, space is this, and beneath time, space is actually no thing. So actually resting in being, in source. Now, as we rest in being, as Mark has said, infinity desires finitude. So the infinity of being, out of that place, actually, we can sense desire. So feel into desire, the yearning force of being that wants to become, that wants to be something. And we feel into that, the yearning for existence, the allurement that drives all things actually comes from the source and drives all things to manifest. This is Eros. This is the source of Eros. This is what we call outrageous love, radical aliveness, desiring more contact, more wholeness. So from here, we actually do what Mark often has invited us into, which is a meditation on allurement. So we retrace the great flaring forth, as Tom has mentioned. So feel the resonance with all of life. About 4 billion years ago, the planet Earth came into formation, and then eventually life came, and bacteria and plants. We can actually feel that aliveness resonate with the entire biosphere. And our feelings, again, feeling the emotion of the entire animal kingdom that actually unites us with the animal kingdom. Let that yearning, that allurement resonate further and further into our higher capacities to actually resonate with all humans. So the physiosphere, the biosphere, and what was called the noosphere, the thinking layer of the earth, we actually feel it within ourselves. We can actually experience ourselves as the past, present, and the future, all within this moment. So here's our unique self, right? The evolutionary unique self. But from here, we actually realize this entire evolutionary process, the spiral of evolution that is encoded within our bodies, we actually didn't do this all ourselves. As Tom mentioned, we're not separate selves. So we actually realize, wait a minute, I'm not doing this alone. I'm participating with this larger process. And this process is not just an impersonal force, but this process actually turns to me, turns to you, turns to us. And in a personal way, it actually bows to us and says, help me, partner with me. And so we actually reach out We cry out sometimes. We yearn to partner with this beloved, the great beloved that created all things, that's continuing to create all things. And we ask for everything. So we yearn to take the next step, for ourselves, egocentric, for our people, ethnocentric, for the world, world-centric, for all peoples, and for all of reality, cosmocentric. So we yearn, we pray for reality, God in second person, to hold our hand and to invite us to take our next step in the evolution of the cosmos. As evolutionary unique self, as God having a unique experience, looking towards, bowing towards, yearning for connection with God in the second person. So from this place, we go into our song. And during the song, let's let the prayers flow. Pray for everything with God as our partner. Take us inside, Christina, to our song.
Waiting for Billy in me.
Pray for everything. Just let the prayers flow.
Isn't it love in this life that you need? You can offer your soul to an altar of sacrifice, but give your heart to me. Let's bring heaven down here. Let's bring heaven on down. I don't want to wait for the angels. Let's bring heaven down here. What's in the sky that you and I can't find? Simply in love, what could be more divine? How can I make you believe forever and evermore? I'll give my heart to you. Let's bring heaven down here. Let's bring heaven on down. I don't want to wait for the angels. Let's bring heaven down here. Can I lay you down? Don't you know salvation is the warmth of my embrace? Let me touch your lips, kiss the moonlight on your face. I need you now. I need you now. What are you waiting for, Billy? Oh, with me. Isn't it love in this life that you need? You can offer your soul to an altar of sacrifice, but give your heart to me. Let's bring heaven down here. Let's bring heaven on down. I don't want to wait for the angels. Let's bring heaven down here. Let's bring heaven down here.
and in the world, and bless all we touch upon. Amen. And feel these prayers with me. We actually amplify them together. Jacqueline, I pray to not live with any delusion of who I really am. Yes. Becca, I pray for all beings to rise into harmony and song of forgiveness and love. Amen. Myra, I pray to be pain-free. Yes. Tom, open my eyes to the truth of who I am for the benefit of all beings. Anne Marie, I pray for union of sky and incarnation to know each other's hearts. Yes, Anne Marie. Joycey, I pray for all my 3 daughters to find their identities as unique selves. Yes, Joycey, and I'm sure they feel it in you and you model that. Ujis, I pray for the unity of all humans. Yes, Ujis, you have so much passion for that. Inika, I pray for living my unique self more and more for the sake of all. Carol, let us wake up, stretch gloriously, know what it is, who we all are. Yes, Uts, I pray for a good solution for all to the thing called time. Yes, Inika, pray to live the dream. Suzette, pray for everyone to feel this goodness. Becca, I pray for our beloved standing people. Yes, Oriana, Inika, Terry, prayers all over, blow them to the sky as an invitation for heaven to come down here to continue the evolutionary process. Krista, no, Tom, sorry, take us to the next step, wrap this all up and bring us home, brother.
Thank you so much, David. Beautiful meditation. And thank you to all of you who offered up prayers, to all of those prayers that we heard and all those prayers that are not yet expressed. We say amen. And with that, I'll turn it over to our beloved Krista to take us all the way home. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom Goddard. Thank you, David. Thank you, Christina. And thank us all for placing our attention on this beautiful journey here. And I just want to invite us into a song, and while we're singing together, to feel how this Dharma comes alive in you, because we're not here to just be consumers. We've been talking today, Tom has shared so beautifully with us today, that we are participants in the evolution of God, participants in the evolution of love. And in deep, deep, deep gratitude and honor and just gratitude for Dr. Mark Goffney for sharing and for articulating this beautiful Dharma with us, of which we are all students. And I know Mark Goffney himself is also a student dedicated to articulate it in such a precise way that we can kind of receive that transmission and let it move in our bodies, as Tom shared also, breathe it into our bodies and feel in our bodies that we become these evolutionary, unique expressions of outrageous love. So the invitation here, as every week, is to step on the playing fields, to not be on the sidelines. You can be, you're welcome to just watch, but the invitation is to come and play and to come and dance. And before I will share with you how we can do that, let's just take a moment to feel it into our bodies. And maybe you can, as we are singing, kind of play with that question, like, what does reality need from me right now? And let that yummy, juicy energy of radical aliveness move in your body a little bit. So the song is, every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad that every little cell in my body is well. And I chose to change this song because I feel that we are here and we're talking about participating in the intimate universe. And as we are stepping into that, this is what happens. Every little cell in my body starts to resonate with that field of outrageous love. So here we go. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And as we are allowing that energy of outrageous love to move through every cell of our bodies, we can't help but commit our outrageous acts of love in our unique corner of the world. And Tom and Terry and every one of us here stepping in every week is modeling it so beautifully for us that we are truly this unique self symphony, that we get to study the Dharma, embody the Dharma, become the Dharma, and then share it in our unique corner of the world. So that's the invitation here for all of us. One of the ways to step into to become a student, a deeper student of the Dharma, is to study the next course that we will be studying here together as members of One Mountain. Which starts in September. Christina mentioned it in the beginning already. We are going to study the course Awakening Your Unique Self. So that is exactly the topic that Tom spoke about today. We're going to start studying the course that is already there. Dr. Mark Gaffney recorded it. I think it's 8 or 10 weeks diving deep into that. And it will be an online class led by Claire Molinar, who is the initiator and founder of the Unique Self Institute, together with Dr. Mark Gaffney, of course. She will be there and holding this group together with Jamie, Christina, and David. So you're welcome to study there. And as an interesting thing to know is that after we go through this first course, Dr. Mark Gaffney will step in to teach kind of the next level and the next emergence and all of the Dharma that has evolved after this course around unique self. So that will start around January. So this is a beautiful ramp up to kind of dive into the basics, the foundations of evolutionary unique self, and then deepen the study together with Dr. Mark Gaffney in January. So please all step on to the playing field. Let's study together. Let's become Homo Amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapiens together. And again, you can do this by becoming a member of One Mountain. And we just want to encourage each other to all give as much as we can. We always say we're not here for a win-lose metrics. We're not trying to sell each other anything. We're just trying to play a larger game. So if you can, please consider to raise your contribution. If you are now giving $25, maybe you want to give $50 a month. If you're giving $100, maybe you can give $200 a month. So we can really bring One Mountain to the next level. Starting September, it's time for the next year, for the next wave to emerge and to happen. And we are all together responsible for making this happen. And one of the things we've been talking about for a long time and behind the scenes doing a lot of work to make it happen is to turn One Mountain into a podcast. And we'll share more about our visions around that. But for that, we really need people to step in and to resource and to blast this beautiful Dharma out into the world. So if you can, please give your gifts, contribute, and participate. And with that, I want to invite us to dance, to blow it out in our bodies. Let's get some music from Miss Lady Gaga. Christina, please take us inside. Thank you so much.